there's me thinking I'm about to leave the house to go to the shop. And now that has done a complete U-turn. I'm now about to leave the house to go to an AA meeting. No, that's not happening. Nah.
Right.
I think her exact words were, these words changed my life, by the way. This phrase changed my life. Get to the meeting or get out.
Hey y'all, what's going on? Welcome back to the Stacking Days podcast. I'm your host, Ray Donovan, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. It's a little bit unique in that oftentimes I have the luxury and the pleasure of being able to interview individuals, whereas today I'm actually going to be interviewing a couple. So that's one of the unique points of today's conversation. The other is that Alisha and Ricci, who's going to be joining us here, they're actually in the UK. So I think this may be the first conversation that I've had with anyone on the Stacking Days podcast who was out in London. So look, without further ado, I want to get right into it. Ricci, Alisha, thanks for joining the Stacking Days podcast. Let's get into it.
Thanks for having us.
Ray. Yeah, nice to meet you as well.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Or
Yeah, I know.
person.
We've been trying to catch each other for a little while here, but I appreciate you guys coming on. And I think that how I want to do this is let's talk about your relationship with alcohol and where it really started. I think understanding where it started and progressed individually, and then we'll talk about where that relationship, for lack of a better term, tied the knot between the two of you, and we'll go on from there. So maybe Alisha, could you start and just give us a sense of kind of like your story and your history, and then we'll jump over to Ricci.
Yes, sure. Yeah. So growing up, alcohol was always around me. As far as I can remember, my dad was a drinker. He always allowed us to have a little sip of his drinks, and especially at Christmas or birthdays, if we were celebrating, we were allowed like a small little glass of alcohol, I remember. So when I became a teenager, as soon as my friends started drinking, I started being intrigued and started to drink with them. We would drink together in parks, and even sometimes maybe at school on our lunch break. If it was a birthday or something, we would celebrate, because to me, that's what I knew alcohol was for, to celebrate, to have a good time. That's what I grew up with. So I started drinking. I would say it's quite innocently as a teenager. It was sort of how we socialized. It's what we knew what to do. I don't remember being like totally blackout drunk when I was a teenager. I was always a real big lightweight. So as soon as I took a sip or a glass of alcohol, I was drunk, really drunk. So, and then that was sort of enough for me. But as I got older, I still continued to drink. It was a way of socializing. It was a way of meeting people, going on holiday, going for work drinks. It was just always a part of our culture. And then I met Ricci. Well, we got together when I was 20, and we drank together. Every time we'd go on a date night, go on holidays, always drinking. But for me, I would always go that bit more. Like when it was time to stop, I would want to carry on. But Ricci joined me with that. But I would get sick a lot of the time, and I used to suffer from horrible hangovers the next day, like terrible. Like the next day for me was a write-off. I couldn't do anything. And then we had our first son when I was 25. And I found being a first-time mother really difficult, especially for him. But now I know it's because he was later on diagnosed with ADHD. So he was quite challenging. Great, he was challenging as a whole. Lovely, beautiful baby, and he's such a big character. But it was hard work, and we were really tired. So when he was a baby, on the days that he would go to grandma's house for the night, or we got the night off to go to a wedding or a friend's birthday, I would get paralytic. We would drink a lot.
Big blowout.
We would just have a big blowout, because it was all that we knew how
here's your chance.
Yeah, exactly. And it was always like, we need to relax. So how do we relax? We have a drink. And that's all we knew, how to relax. That's all we were taught, really. And when we would do that, I would just get so drunk, so hungover, and I'd be even more tired when I then got our son back. And we started to drink at the weekends. It was sort of like I went back to work, and at the weekends it was our time to relax and enjoy ourselves. So we would have a drink as soon as my son went to sleep. Then we had a second son 3 years later, and times were quite stressful between us. We were in between moving house, saving up to buy a house, and yeah, our relationship wasn't great. We weren't really on the same page with things. So I then started drinking with my friends. Like I would go out for dinners with my friends and it would end up really boozy. I would sort of say yes to all the events I could go to, whether it was work drinks or mum's nights out. But I always found myself getting that bit more drunk, or I just couldn't handle my drink as well. Well, I could never really handle my drink. So I would just always go, I would always just push it to the limit.
Mm.
And then it got to the point where just drinking was just a part of our weekly task to do. We would drink every single week. Every single event that we got invited to, we would be drinking. But it wasn't abnormal. It wasn't seen as we're doing something totally out the ordinary, because everyone was doing it. Our friends were drinking. Our work colleagues were having a drink at the weekends. It wasn't like something that we shouldn't be doing. It seems like now we're sober, we can say like it's a bit abnormal because not everyone's
Right.
sober. Like, do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think it just got ingrained in us that that was our life, and having children, running a home, having jobs, it just revolved around drinking. It was just our time, and it got to the point for me when I had to start moderating. So I thought, I'm getting too drunk far too often, and I'm a mother. I don't want to be acting like this and just not really remembering what I've done, or even when I'm in that moment, just totally forgetting all my responsibilities and just totally letting loose. I didn't want to be doing that and making a fool of myself. And then the next day saying, oh my God, what did I do? Who have I offended? You know, I just hated that routine of just not being in control of what I was doing. And it seemed like the more responsibilities that I had in life, the worse I was getting, because I was so, you know, I'd like to say I'm like the boss. I like control everything here, like, like as in like, you know, what we do at the weekend. It's like, you know, I sort of say tell everyone like, this is what we're doing this weekend, or you know, even down to what the kids are doing and stuff. Like I control everything, and I sound really controlling now, but I mean
You're
I
the
organize
CEO.
everything. Yeah.
That's it.
But
Yeah.
I you know, I work full time myself, so I have to be organized, and I have to organize our family. And
She does a great job of it, by the way.
thank you.
She does.
Yes.
Stuff.
And then yeah, so when I did get that opportunity to go away from the, out of my control, I just wanted to let loose and totally, you know, let my brain run free and just drink and just relax.
Without a worry.
But it was just detrimental to me because I was becoming tireder. I was not. I felt depressed after a while when the drink started to wear off. My health as a female was deteriorating. Our relationship, I would get into stupid arguments with Ricky. I would bring up stuff that happened 4, 5, 6 years ago, have an argument with him, and then it would just be really pointless. So Ricky had his own battles, which he'll get to in a moment. And when he started to sort himself out, I started to think, do you know what? Even though I'm not drinking on a daily basis, it's still affecting me on a daily basis. So I think I need to stop drinking as well and join him to stop drinking. And the moment I did that, it felt like a weight lifted off my shoulder. I just felt so much better with myself. I felt in control of my life. My health started to improve. Our relationship improved, and I thought, you know what, I just never want to drink again. But don't get me wrong, it was hard because I had to learn how to relax. I had to learn how to feel confident in myself to walk into a room at an event and talk to people and not be under the influence and be like stone cold sober. How to control my emotions because I'm quite an emotional person, and I had to kind of get a grip. But like, I read somewhere recently that when you start to drink at that young age, whatever you were dealing with at that young age will come back up as
Hmm.
soon as you stop drinking as an adult. So
Yep.
what I went through as a child and obviously living quite dysfunctionally with an alcoholic parent, I started now like dealing with my dad and my emotions that I have towards my dad only now, where I didn't realize I suppressed all of them emotions so much because alcohol was one of the main focuses of my week and how I relaxed and enjoyed life. Um, so there's been a lot of change in me as a woman and as a grown adult. So it's not been an easy journey in sobriety, but it's been one of the best journeys I've been on, and I'm so happy and glad that we're here now.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
I appreciate you recounting all of that, and certainly you get to a point in sobriety where you start um, kind of uncovering a lot of those things that have been suppressed, right? And then you start making those linkages back to your behaviors that even though in the moment at the time you didn't think it was an issue, you start saying to yourself, "Well, wow, it's deeper than what even I thought." In that moment, now that I'm in a position where I have more clear visibility into how I'm living my life, so thank you for all that. We're going to get into it. I want Ricky to pick up the mic here and give us your kind of account because it sounds as though you each have had your own individual journeys with this, and you
Yeah,
got to
most
your own
definitely.
place of recognition. I'd love for you to kind of give us your perspective on how your relationship has evolved, Ricky.
Yeah, so unlike Alicia, I never really had anyone around me as a kid growing up. Never really had any adults that was drinking or alcoholics. Obviously, I had older family relatives and family friends that would drink on an occasion, as Alicia said, sort of
Mm.
Christmas, birthdays, any sort of celebration. But I never grew up actually seeing anyone having a problem with alcohol or over drinking. My dad wasn't around when I was younger. My mum never drank alcohol. To this day. She doesn't really drink alcohol. So my first drink, well, me and Alicia, our families are very close and we knew each other from young. And we went on a family holiday. And as Alicia said, her dad used to give Alicia sort of drinks at an early age. And my first drink, so I shouldn't say my first drink that I can remember was given to me by Alicia's dad on a family holiday once. I think I was about, it must have been about 10 or 11.
He was the same age as Riley now,
Yeah,
so
yeah. So I was
11,
11,
11.
yeah, 11 going on 12
Mhm.
in the summer holidays. But that wasn't that didn't start any problem for me. It was sort of a little bottled hooch. I don't know if you have them in Canada or America on that
Hmm.
other side of the river.
Mm.
It never had any sort of effect on me. It didn't start anything for me. But I remember that was the first time
It's
that
an alco pop. I
yeah,
don't know if you know
Yeah,
the
this
yeah
the little yeah.
yeah,
yeah yeah.
that was the first time that I remember having a taste for alcohol. And yeah, growing up, sort of early teens, again, I didn't really drink. I didn't really experiment with alcohol like that. Played a lot of football to quite a high level, so I wasn't really interested in drink. And then I had an incident where it was my grand's birthday, and I was about 14, 15 at this time in point in my life. And it was a big party, it was a massive party for my gran, and there was a lot of people there. And the bar was it was at a house, but the bar sort of in the back garden was sort of being served by family friends, older family friends. And what I was doing, I don't know why, I don't know what possessed me to do this, but I was getting drinks on the low, on a sneaky. So I go to the bar and I'd say, "Oh, my auntie wants a drink," and they'll pour me a neat brandy, and I'd run off and drink it. I
Mm.
didn't even tell anyone I was doing it. I don't know why I was doing it. Just doing it to myself. Then I'd go back to the bar. Oh, my uncle wants a drink. Neck that. Then I go back to the bar. Anyway, six or seven drinks later, ended up passing out, falling down the stairs, in a mess, going to the hospital, getting my stomach pumped. I was in hospital for a good 12 hours or so. And even when I woke up sort of in the hospital after being there for a few hours, I woke up and I was like, oh, where's the drink? Is the drink finished? Pass in and out of
Wow.
consciousness.
Yeah.
But again, that didn't start anything for me. I mean, after that happened, I was afraid of alcohol. I didn't drink. I couldn't even walk in a supermarket. I couldn't walk down the alcohol aisle without feeling sick or feeling uncomfortable. I didn't drink again until my 21st birthday. Well, not around the age of 21. My best friend, his birthday is 3 weeks before mine, and he was 21, and we all went to Tenerife on holiday. Everyone was drinking, and someone was like, "Go on, Rick, have a drink." And then I just had a drink, and then that there from about from the age of 21
Mm.
is when I started to drink again. I
Mm.
wasn't drinking heavy, I wasn't sort of drinking out of control, but I'd go out and have a few drinks. Now, about the age drinking I started to drink more regular was about, it was after we met. Not that she wasn't the cause. It wasn't a case where I met
Mhm.
Alicia and she's the cause, but
Right.
It was
about,
your job, wasn't it?
yeah, it was my job where I was working. A lot of the guys at my work, they would stay behind after work finishes and they would drink
Mm.
for maybe, could be an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and they always used to invite me, stay and have a drink, stay and have a drink. And I was about 23, 23,
Mm.
24ish at this time, and I was like, no, I've got better things to do. I'm out of it. I'm out of it. And where I worked was quite local to me, and we'd finish at 6 o'clock. And if I was out and about, sort of visiting friends or just out driving past my work at 8, 9 o'clock, I'd look at my work, and they'd still be in there drinking. And one day I thought, you know what, I'm gonna stay and have a drink, you lot, and see what you lot actually get up to, see what you guys talk about. And yeah, I stayed one night, had a drink, had a great time. Stayed another night, and this was happening so often that it came to a point where even on my days off, I would go to work after work just to
Mm.
sit down and drink with these guys. And sometimes it would go on till 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, just drinking bottles of whiskey.
What do you
Um,
what do you think it was? Do you think it was like the camaraderie? Was it at that point, was it some sort of a release for you? What drove the kind of motivation to make this a more regular occurrence for you? What did it make you feel?
no, that's a very good question. And I don't think all the podcasts, I don't think I've ever been asked this question or discussed this before. I couldn't tell you. I honestly don't know. I had a good job. Met Alicia. I was living at home with my mom. I had a nice car, and there was nothing really going wrong for me at this point of my life.
I think it was just that alcohol, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That's what it
yeah,
was. It was
yeah.
just
I
it was
think
just
I think
alcohol,
yeah,
that addiction of
because
feeling
I
free.
because I didn't really drink. I think maybe, I don't know. I had a first taste for it with for the first time, like after work, and usually I would only drink if I went out. And I'm a very conscious person, like I like to be aware of my surroundings. If I'm in a party or somewhere, I'm sort of always got sort of my back to the wall. I'm uneasy. I always want to keep my wits about myself. But drinking here at work, I never had to do that. I felt in a safe environment. I didn't have to
Mm.
think, constantly, how am I acting? How am I behaving? I could just literally let myself go. We'd be drunk, and
Yeah.
we'd be drunk, and um, I didn't have that sort of, as I say, anxiety or fear of, how am I going to get home, or who's going to see me, or how am I going to be behaving in public, or what if I do something silly and it comes back to haunt me. So
Yeah.
I guess it was the freedom factor, of just being able to drink without having to worry of any real consequence, really. And as I say, that started off a few nights, going back to my work on my days off and drinking, and then carrying it on at home. When me and Alicia bought our first place, It was quite away from where I was working, so I couldn't really do that anymore. I didn't want to drink and drive. I'm not doing that. So I substituted drinking at work for drinking at home, and started to bring alcohol home with me. And I guess that's where Alicia, as Alicia said, at first we started drinking on the week. We was only drinking on the weekends or on occasions, but now I'm bringing the drink home with me. I'm bringing the drink home for myself and also for Alicia, and I'd say that's really where our drinking started to ramp up.
Mm.
What
Mm,
you're saying, and as Alicia said, we had Riley, we had our first son at these times, and
Mm.
yeah, that's for me sort of mid 20s is where drinking really amped up for me. I didn't really see it as a problem. And I wouldn't even say, looking back now, that's where the problem started for me.
mm.
Most definitely.
I appreciate that. Thank you for walking us through that history. So it sounds like now we're at a point where you guys are aligned. Obviously, you still have your own relationships with the
Mhm.
substance, but now
Correct.
the relationship is starting to mesh and intertwine, right? You're purchasing,
Exactly.
alcohol for your wife. She's
Yeah.
going out to escape, and to release and free herself and drink
Yeah.
maybe outside of the home. You now are drinking more inside of the home. So what
Exactly.
so what does that look like for you all now as a couple as you're moving forward? It sounds like it's an extremely challenging time in your life. You have a child who requires a lot of care, attention. You're at a pivotal point, working, trying to grow your careers. What does
Hmm.
that look like now for you as a couple? I've had my own experience. I've been with my wife for 16, 17 years, and we've been married for 8. So I understand
Similar
like the
to us.
long, yeah, I understand the long trajectory of growing together with someone, right? And
Yeah.
and 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 marrying those two lives together and having children. What did that start to look like for you? Because I feel like how long have you been married at this point?
So sorry, were we going back to when, sort of in the run up to when he
So you have your
started to
first,
drink?
yeah. So you
Hmm.
have your first child,
Yeah.
and Ricky's now commuting long distances to his job. Were you married at that point?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
we weren't married at this point. We'd been together at this point for maybe 5, 6 years, maybe.
When
Right.
we had Riley,
Riley's
just
about
before our
three-ish.
second son was
Yeah,
born.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And then I'd say, like, when we had our second son and we moved into this house, um, we started to drink a lot more together because we started to be on the same page.
I'd say before
Mm.
we moved into this house, when we had our second son, Roman, it was before here. But sorry, carry on.
No, but I was just thinking about lockdown. I was just going to say back to lockdown because lockdown pushed us to drink more at home and together.
And
Yeah.
spend more time together. Yeah, right. I got you. So let's start there. What did that look like then? Now that there's some definitive overlap between your both of your relationships, right? It starting to mirror one another. So what did it look like from there?
Yeah, because I think that really pushed us, and I pushed a lot of people to drink at home. So it was more, I didn't really like drinking at home before, but then lockdown, it just made it, okay, this is what you do. This is what it gets put on your shopping, your weekly shop now, alcohol.
Yeah.
And we would sit down and drink a lot more at home together. And then we then had a third son. And then we would use our Saturdays as our inside date night. So we would make sure the kids get to bed by 7 o'clock, 7, 8 o'clock. And then we would have, like, we would cook and then we would drink together. And we would say, like, by 12 p.m., like, that's our bedtime. Um, but we would spend the evening just drinking. And we might have started drinking a bit earlier, just before the kids went to sleep. And that was our weekend, but we did it every single weekend. And we would also do it on a Friday night as well. And I
Right.
started to really try to moderate. So I wouldn't get too drunk on a Friday night, but then maybe on a Saturday night, I would go a bit overboard. And yeah, it just got to the point where it was just such a continuous, vicious cycle
Hmm.
of doing the same thing. We weren't getting anywhere. We weren't like growing as a couple.
Sorry, I'm gonna take it back a bit
Mm,
before lockdown, Alicia. I think
okay.
I think me from a personal perspective, I was drinking at home a lot more, even before lockdown, even before we were married.
Yeah,
And
you was, but I wasn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I was even before we were married. And when we did get married, we weren't in the best place.
No.
We definitely wasn't in the best place. We're talking to 2017 now,
Yeah.
so we're talking a good. We got married in 2017, so we're talking a good few years before lockdown. And for me, I would say from about 2014, 2015 is when me personally, my drinking really amped up.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the episode. If you are, we'd really love it if you could leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcast or a rating on Spotify. And of course, please feel free to invite somebody into the conversation. If you feel like you have a story to share on the podcast, why not apply to be a guest? You can do so by completing the form on the podcast description or find it on stackanddays.com. That's stacknday's.com. But for now, let's jump back into the conversation.
At this point now, I'm finding any excuse to drink. Alicia wants to moderate. We'll only drink at the weekends, and every week, every Sunday, I'd agree to it. Yeah, we'll only drink at the weekends. All right, we're not going to drink this week. We'll drink, but I'd find an excuse. Monday, it's Monday today. I've had a stressful day. No one likes Mondays. I'm gonna have a drink. Tuesday we got football in over here in England. We got the Champions League on Tuesday and Wednesdays. I love football. I'm a football fan. I don't just watch my team. I watch all football.
Gotcha.
So Tuesday and Wednesdays, is Champions League, so I'd find a drink, and then I'd find a reason to drink. And then Thursdays we've got the UEFA Cup, so I'd find a drink. And then we're back on Friday. Everyone drinks on a Friday,
Yeah.
and I'm home drinking. So, and this happened for a good few years, Ray. I'm being serious. Every weekend,
I
and
get it.
to be honest, I tried. I genuinely meant it. On a Sunday, or on a Sunday or a Monday afternoon while we're speaking, while we're at work, while I'm at my job and she's at her job, we're not going to drink this week. And I would genuinely try not to drink, but then the evening will come and I'll drink. Now, because she sort of didn't want me to drink, or she doesn't want to drink in the week, the only way that I was able to drink is if I brought her home, if I'd bought drink home for her.
Mm.
So my problem is now having an effect on her. If I come in with a drink for myself, no, Ricky, you're not drinking that. No, no, no. Or if so I'd bring a drink home for her. Um, not in a malicious way, just so it will give me the acceptance to drink.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'd come in, she'd be upstairs, I don't know, sorting out with the kids or whatever. And before I've even said hi to her, I've poured her a drink. So as soon as she comes downstairs, stick it in her face. Here you go, darling, I've bought a drink.
Yeah. It's hard to say
She'll say,
no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
because you've also had a long hard day, and and want
Exactly.
to
And I was like,
decompress
yeah.
and connect with your man. And
And it got to the point where I was like, oh, if I can't beat him, join him. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
because like no matter how many times I'm like, Ricky, no, not tonight, no. I was just like, oh, if he doesn't think he's got a problem, then I'll just drink. Like,
Yeah.
Did
I'll
you
just
think he
drink.
had a problem?
Yeah, I did always, from about 2020, maybe a bit before, I started to think he had a drinking problem, especially because he started to black out sometimes and like do things, a bit like your story, that he would start to do things and then he didn't know what he's done until the next day.
Yeah.
Whereas I black out and I totally go to sleep. That's it, done. He would just do stupid stuff and I would just be like, oh, Ricky, for goodness sake. And then the next day he'd be like, oh my gosh, what did I do? What did I say? And that used to scare me because I'm like, I can see in his pupils that he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
And that happened quite
Yeah.
often.
Sorry, so I just wanted to take it back a little bit. So now that's happening. Now we're in lockdown,
Yeah.
and yeah. So
You were
sorry,
just like, yay, lockdown, I can drink at home
I
and I
can
don't need
drink
to hide it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So and we've got house parties and Zooms, and she'd be in the front room or a different room on Zoom to her friends, or house party with her friends, and I'd just be upstairs, on the PlayStation, just drinking,
Mm.
But at this time now, Ray, my drinking is it's getting bad. It's getting
Yeah.
out of control. I don't think I have a problem, but it's getting to the point now where I'm bringing her drink home for Alicia, and I'm starting to drink more now. So I'm because I'm starting to drink more and I'm able to drink more. So,
Yeah.
where it was before, I'd maybe bring a bottle of whiskey home for myself and maybe a little bottle of gin for Alicia, or a bottle of wine for Alicia. I'm now bringing two bottles of whiskey home for myself, but she's only seeing one. So,
Mm.
I've got one on display that she can see, and I've got one hidden somewhere else. So I'd pour her a drink that she can see. I'd finish it while I'm just going upstairs quickly. I'm just going to the toilet, and I'd pour her a drink from the hidden bottle. So I'm alternating between the bottle on show and the bottle that's not on show.
I get it.
So she obviously at the time she doesn't know this, and again, I don't think I got a problem. The reason I'm doing this isn't because I got a problem. So in my mind, the reason I'm doing this isn't because I've got a problem. I just don't want her to moan at me.
Yeah.
And even and because I'm drinking the other drink, that the other bottle that she can't see, come the end of the night, I might have a little bit left over, which I never had before in the bottle that she's seen. And I'd say to her, look, darling, see, I'm starting to drink less now. See, there's some left over,
Mm.
trying to get brownie points. But little does she know, I got another. There's been another one out of her sight.
The amount of drink you were drinking had
Yeah,
increased a lot, and
I'm at the point now. Sorry to cut you. I'm at the point now, Ray, where I can handle myself a lot better now. There'll be times where I'll be steaming drunk, and the next,
no, I could tell by your
you,
voice at
you,
times. I could
yeah,
tell by his voice that
you.
he'd had too much, and that would really annoy me.
But
'Cause I'm like,
I would say to her,
oh, I just had one.
I just had one. That's how my voice goes after one drink. I could be 10 drinks in, and
Right.
I'll try and get away with it. See, even
We got
now,
more practice at that point, right? So
exactly.
you're a little better at acting the part that you expect that she wants to see, but in reality, it's just getting worse. I've been there. I exactly
Yeah,
exactly
I'm
where you're
just
at.
going down a slippery slope, and again, I'm not seeing I have a problem with it. I'm after COVID now. I've got a new job where it's very client based, so we're taking clients out, and I'm drinking a lot with the clients and coming home. And there was times where, we wouldn't even have. I would say to Alicia, I'm going out with clients today, and I wouldn't even be going out with a client. I just wanted to, I'll just get because I'm traveling now on transport on the train to and from work. But I wouldn't be taking clients out or going out with clients or workmates. I'll just be drinking on the way home. So when I come in and she smells alcohol on me, well, I was with
Mm,
clients today. I wasn't really. That's just my excuse for my smell, sort of thing.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
but I didn't see anything wrong with it. I wasn't traveling home on public transport. Sort of really drunk and a bottle in a plastic bag. I'm in a shirt, I'm in a shoes, I'm dressed decent, I look decent. I used to mask it in a Diet Coke can, pour my whiskey in a bottle of Diet Coke, so no one's none the wiser. Train journey's about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, so I just sit on the train and drink. But again, I didn't see it as I'm passed out on the train. I'm making a mess of myself. So as far as I'm concerned, in other civilians' eyes, I just look like a normal person drinking a bottle of Coke. But that is where it got to. That's the
yeah.
severity it was getting to now, right, sort of thing. But we're talking now, sort of in the last. This is in the last sort of three years ish,
2 3 years, yeah.
3 years.
I mean, this whole alcohol is such it's such a slippery, negatively progressive slope where it can just come over you. And I feel like for a lot of folks, COVID pushed people. I mean, about
Mm.
as far as they could be pushed. And some folks were able to make the pivot, right, and find some help. And some folks are worse off because of that time where they were unchecked, and alcohol is tricky where if you leave it unchecked, you start doing things that clearly, in retrospect, is not necessarily normal, but at the time, you're completely, you're none the wiser for yourself, right?
Mm.
What so, and I know I'm going to come back to you, Alicia, but I feel like we're at a pivotal point in Ricky's story where we're heading to a point where I'm assuming at some point you recognize I need to address this, right? I know that I feel like I'm fooling everybody else around me, but I can't fool myself anymore. So what did that recognition or leading up to that point of recognition look like for you?
Um, the point of recognition is when Alicia said to me, she found it was an ultimatum, really. It was
Mm.
either sort yourself out or get out, and that was it was an
I think we
ultimatum.
had like a bit of an argument.
Yeah.
What, yeah.
Leading up to this, I'd say about 6 months leading up to this pivotal moment, Alicia was on to me. You need to stop drinking. Stop
Mm,
drinking. You're drinking too much. Stop drinking. No, I've not got a problem. Stop drinking. Nah, nah. And I'd have an argument with her. I'm not. There's nothing wrong with me. All I do is have a drink. And the reason I saw nothing wrong with it is, we live we got a nice house. We got our children are growing up nicely. We got nice careers. We drive a nice car. Our house is always clean.
Yeah.
What I'm not a drunk sort of thing.
mm.
There's nothing wrong with the way I'm drinking, and everything is kept in check. I still get up in the mornings. I do the housework as she says. She controls everything. She organizes everything. Whether it's kids' birthday parties, going to the park, amusement parks, things we need to do on the weekend, I'm still present there.
Mm.
It's not like I'm not coming today because I'm hungover, or I'm not coming today because I want to stay in and drink. I'm going to go to the pub with my friends. I'm still present for you as a husband and for my children as a father.
Yeah,
What is
so
the
what is the
what's the
problem?
big
Yeah.
deal, sort of thing?
And a lot of people
Yeah.
would say, and a lot of people say, yeah, like a lot of people would say, yeah, Ricky, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. What you're doing is fine.
Yeah,
And a
but
lot of people told me that as well, like how I'm.
they're not seeing what she's seeing though.
So what are you thinking, Alicia? I mean, you're sitting there separate and aside from your relationship with alcohol. You're obviously trying to moderate your intake and you're trying to be more, more attuned to your own needs as
Mm,
as a human being. But you're looking at your husband and you're saying, something's going on with my husband.
mm.
And I need to address it.
Yeah.
What is the tension within inside of you look like when you're approaching that moment? And I'm sure you probably had many of them. And I've been on the other side of that where I'm defensive and I'm like, look, leave me alone. It's not an issue. Stop screwing with me, so on and so forth.
Mm.
Mm.
But what is going on with you leading up until that moment of ultimatum? Because I would imagine that it had to have gotten pretty serious in your eyes to ultimately say, look, it's either we address this or you're going to have to figure something else out on your own.
Yeah. So for me, like I said, I was just going too over the limit. I would say every 3 months. There seemed to be a 3 month pattern I noticed towards the end of giving up alcohol. And every time I would try to say to him, no, no, let's just give it a month's break, he couldn't do it. And when he was coming home with the alcohol, it just started to look all too familiar from when I was younger and seeing my
Mm,
dad coming in with the bag from the off license, as we call it,
okay.
coming in, and he had um, bottles of drink for us. And I was just like, I don't want my kids to grow up having parents that are dependent on alcohol, or even for them to just grow up seeing that their parents liked alcohol and stuff. I didn't want that for them because that happened to me and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And because now our kids are older, they're more aware of what we're doing. So now they would start to probably be at the age where what we're doing is affecting their upbringing to the point where they want to start copying us when they get older and start their learned behaviors will start coming into place. So I was like, I don't want that for my children. Ricky's behavior is starting to remind me of my dad. He needs to sort himself out. I'm really trying hard to sort myself out and moderate. Um, but he's the problem because he's not allowing me to not drink when I want to not drink. I thought, right, he needs help. Let me find an AA class for him, like a local AA class that he can go to, because I knew that would really help him. He did go before we actually stopped drinking. He did go about 3 or 4 months before to one, and
Mm,
it was just before Christmas. And he said he really related to the people. We only remembered this recently. He really related to the people there. However, he
mm,
wasn't ready to stop drinking there because he wanted to get through Christmas and have a drink at Christmas. So I was like, okay, as long as like you will go back in the new year, um, I don't mind. And because I thought, oh, I can't deprive him of like not having alcohol at Christmas.
sure.
And then New Year's came and I thought we were kind of trying to moderate. And then it got to the point where we were drinking a bit too much. And it was finally in May that
April.
April that he decided to go back to AA.
So what happened there, was I I didn't come home with any drink that day. I remember it was a Thursday, and Alicia was in the bath, and I put my head round the door. I waited for her to get into the bath because I know she, she's in her own relaxation time. Her mind's not really going to be on what I'm saying. So I put my head round the thing and I said, "Oh, I'm popping to the shop. Do you want anything?" And she goes, "What are you going shop for?" She knew what I was getting shop for. I knew this was going to be because at this point of time now, every time I drink or want to drink, I'm getting in trouble. So I've been gearing myself up for this all evening. How am I going to say this? What am I going to do? Should I wait till she goes in the bath and just sneak out? I can't do that because she thinks I'm in the house. We've got the kids.
Right.
Something could happen. I'd never forgive myself. So I said to her, "Right, I'm just going to the shop. What are you going shop for?" So I'm just going for a little drink. "You don't need to drink today." "Oh, I'm just going to get a little one, Leisha. I'll be back soon." And she says, "No, I found you an AA meeting that you went, the one that you went to just before Christmas is on. You need to go." So that didn't go down well with me because there's me thinking I'm about to leave the house to go to the shop. And now that has done a complete U-turn. I'm now about to leave the house to go to an AA meeting. No, that's not happening. Nah.
Right.
So so that didn't go down well. So you better go. You get to the meeting. I think her exact words were, these words changed my life, by the way. This phrase changed my life. "Get to the meeting or get out." Yeah.
Mm.
And so I said, "You know what? All right, cool. I'm going to go to the meeting." I left the house planning to just go to the off license, to the shop, buy some alcohol, sit in the car for the duration of the meeting, watch something on Netflix or something on my phone, and drink and pass the time. But I thought, I can't go. I hadn't been drink. Remember, I hadn't been drinking today yet, so I haven't got the aroma of alcohol on me. So I thought, I can't say I'm going to an AA meeting and then come
Yeah.
back smelling of alcohol. So I thought, you know what, F it. I'm going to go to the meeting today. I'll just go to the meeting, and then tomorrow's Friday. I'll just go. I'll build up my brownie points
Yeah.
so I can drink tomorrow. I went there, sat at the back of the class. Sorry, sat at the back of the meeting. Didn't really I didn't contribute at all. Was sort of very I wasn't very social. Wasn't really interested. But I came away feeling good. um,
Mm.
um, Surprisingly, I felt, although I didn't want to be there, and even when I was in there, I didn't want to be there, and even when I left, when the meeting had finished, I didn't want to be there. But I just felt something just felt good in me, like I had a feeling that I hadn't felt for a long time. And Alicia asked me how it was, and I told her, obviously not too much because we got the card where it's confidential.
Hmm.
Um, and then I thought, yeah, I've earned my brownie points now. Tomorrow I'm gonna have a right old drink. And then tomorrow came and I never drank.
Mm.
I didn't drink. And then Saturday came and I didn't drink. And Sunday came and I didn't drink. And I know although it had only been a few days, I could see the change in her towards me.
Mm.
And I can see, every time she looks at me now, it's not with disgust, it's not with hate, it's still not a good look, but the look's getting better. It's not as bad, And I went back to the meeting the following week, and this time, I engaged and I didn't share, but I'm introducing myself now, and everyone's being really helpful. They're inviting me to the WhatsApp groups and stuff like that, and giving me reading material and literature, and they're being really supportive. So now I didn't want to sort of throw away the support that or take for granted the support that these guys in the meeting are giving me. So now, not only do I want to do this for myself and for my wife, I don't want to let the guys in the meeting down. I don't want to go there next week and say, or not, I don't want to not go back. Or when I do go back, I don't want to go back and say, "Oh, guys, I folded, man."
Mm.
Even though they wouldn't look down on me for it, they just offered me more support. I felt like I had them in my corner and I didn't want to let them down. And I went and so the third time now, I'm sharing, I'm opening up, I'm enjoying it. And Alicia's she's looking at me different now. Her attitude towards me is changing. The way she's speaking to me is changing. I can see love in her eyes when she's speaking to me again.
Mm.
We're starting to get a little bit more intimate now. Nothing too like holding hands and just holding hands and giving me a hug and a
Yeah.
peck on a kiss when I'm leaving and a kiss. Everything's changing,
Yeah.
and so I'm at that point now. Now at this point, Alicia's she hasn't stopped drinking, and I always
Mm.
said, just because I've stopped drinking, it doesn't mean that you have to stop drinking.
Mhm.
And one thing I respect as well, again, which really helped me was, she said to me, if you want me to stop drinking, I will for you. But, I didn't want to sort of put that on her. If you want to
Yeah.
drink, drink. And when I stopped drinking and stopped bringing the bottles home for her, you wasn't, when I stopped drinking, even though you was still
Mm.
drinking, she wasn't drinking a lot anyway.
Right.
She wasn't drinking. She
I was
wasn't
drinking a
drinking.
lot for myself. It might have not been as much as Ricky was drinking,
Hmm.
but for me as a woman, it was a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I feel like there's a lot of similarities in your experience, Ricky, and with your wife, and it's hard to you know fight against the sense of resentment all the time. When
mhm.
you're acting a certain way that that isn't kind of conducive with how you believe you should be engaged in partnership with your wife. And I think it's lovely that after taking steps you were able to get some of that softness back, in your relationship. And I think that that's important. Certainly in my experience, I needed that from my wife as well. My friend really is to feel that it's still there, right? Um, so I appreciate you sharing that. I'm curious, Alicia. You at this point say, "Hey, look, I'm tapering down. I think it's probably best for us both to not be drinking." I'm sure you probably felt as though that's the best way to support Ricky. So I guess the question that I wanted to get to is, how did you all support each other in these early stages, considering you've had very different relationships with the substance and were stopping for maybe also different reasons, right? Different whys.
Yeah. So for me, to support him, I was obviously supporting him going because I wanted him to stop drinking. And this doesn't, I don't know, our situation is quite unique. You can't obviously push your partner to stop drinking, but he wanted to stop as well. And
Yeah.
I was just lucky that he's not a stubborn person, that he's very open to what my opinion is. And I know he didn't want me to go through what my dad had put me through by drinking and becoming addicted to alcohol. Um, so when he was going to his meetings, I started to listen to podcasts about sobriety, and I wasn't necessarily gonna start not drinking. I just wanted to see what he was listening to and what he was experiencing. But I
In the
couldn't in the
meetings.
meetings. Yeah, so I was just
Gotcha.
listening to some online classes, and then when I was listening to them, it started to resonate with me. I thought, I drink like that. It makes me feel like that. Oh my gosh,
Mm,
I can stop drinking too. So within that maybe week or two of him stopping
Two
drinking,
2 weeks.
I was like, I need to stop.
mm,
And the date was the 1st of May. And I remember it was a bank holiday weekend. And I was drinking, he wasn't at home. And I thought, "Do you know what? It's a really nice day, the 1st of May, to have my first day of sobriety. And I know if it's a nice date, for me, I like dates. If I stop on that day, I will know I will stick to it more." So I became addicted to listening to podcasts. I started to read Quit Lit, and I just submerged myself in sobriety, everything
mm,
sobriety. And I think I went a bit more crazy than him after that. And then also, what was stuck in me as well was the thought of, if I now stop drinking, this is going to encourage him to stop drinking even longer now.
mhm.
So, and I thought this would be a life
Changing.
change. thing for both of us to do as a couple. And yeah, the rest is history. We're now 450 something days, I think, sober.
Congratulations.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
And yeah, and then we've got our own Instagram page, Black and Sober, our own podcast. So we're 452 days today. We use my sober date as the date.
Yeah.
Okay, just to make it easy.
Yeah.
He doesn't mind. I'm not that
I,
controlling. Yeah, as you say, I'm just the organizer. That's a better word.
I love all that. I mean, I love the fact that the CEO is kind of dictating the sobriety date. So 450 some odd days. Congratulations. I It seems as though this has been just a huge shift lifestyle wise for you, both as individuals, for your family. I'm curious for the folks who are on the outside looking in, who probably this whole time were saying that neither one of you had an issue. What is their perspective now that you're, a year and a half or more having been sober? What are their thoughts around some of the decisions you make? Do they question it, or is it not even a matter of conversation?
As in, do you mean our family and stuff?
Yeah, your friends and family. So I'm
Uh,
sure that that they were like pretty surprised that you're both
yeah, people
maybe.
were very surprised at Alicia and Ricci not drinking, because whenever there was a party, kids' birthday party, our birthday, housewarming, wedding, it
Whenever
revolved around
whenever there
alcohol.
was oxygen in the air, whenever the sun came
You know,
up.
even if people came over for a Sunday dinner, they knew
Yeah.
they were going to have like a bottle of wine
Yeah.
and more. And a lot of the times, people left our house drunk.
Mm.
And we now realise that we were the real instigators, because people, our family and friends that we're close to, don't actually really drink.
Yeah.
Mm,
There are the odd people that don't get it, that
Mm-hmm.
still drink.
Mm-hmm.
That, do you know what? They probably miss their drinking buddies. I'm not going to lie, and we probably would feel the same. I think it will take a while for them to maybe fully understand what we're going through. They don't understand why we have to like share out loud and
mm,
Mm.
be sober. Um, but yeah, it's some of it. Sometimes it's been hard when people don't understand it and they question it and they think that we're really silly for what we do, and they think, why would you not drink? Why are you depriving ourselves? And don't get me wrong, we love to drink. We enjoyed it. That's why we did it so much.
Mm.
So we understand their love for the alcohol, because that's why we're here now. We loved it too much and we
yep.
indulged in it a bit too much.
Yeah.
So now we're benefiting from not drinking, and it's harder than you think. I think a lot of people think, oh, you can just give it up and that be it. But we now understand on this journey that it isn't just the case of just giving up alcohol. There's a lot more to it. And when you totally
Yeah.
put yourself in that
Yeah.
situation and environment and totally embrace sobriety, only then you can experience and know what it actually does for you.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think, Ray, for when I first stopped drinking, a lot of people would say to me, why are you stopping drinking for? You never had a problem. You haven't got a problem. Go on, have a drink, have a drink, have a drink. And when I stopped drinking, I didn't really want my lifestyle to change other than the alcohol. So, I'd still go out to a Christmas party, or, if the guys are still going to the pub on a Friday after work, I'd go and have a zero beer or whatever